Good afternoon, Michelle Hennessy here with the journal.ie. Now today is the new government's first day in the Dáil, and the new ministers are going to be greeted by some unhappy citizens, let's say. Among them will be a group of Garda sergeants and inspectors along with their families and some other supporters who will be with them. Garda sergeants and inspectors are marching on the Dáil today. They're demanding that their pay be restored. Now, the Gardaí who are here today, the sergeants and inspectors, have seen cuts to their pay of around 25% altogether in the last few years, since 2008. And they're frustrated that there's been no action from the government, especially with all this talk about recovery recently, in restoring their pay. You can hear some of the frustration today from the men and women who are here, but we're going to let them speak for themselves. We're going to speak to a few of the people who are in the crowd, and we'll also talk later on to the Association of Garda Sergeants and Inspectors President, Antoinette Cunningham. Now, if you have any questions that you want me to ask Antoinette, you can leave them in the comments under the video, and I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. We're just walking, making our way now along Nassau Street, and I'll get my colleague Nicky, who is behind the camera, Nicky Ryan, just to show you the scale of the crowd. Now, we've estimated there are around 200 people here altogether, and it's worth bearing in mind that the association only has just over 2,000 members, and a lot of them, of course, are on duty at the moment. Some people have travelled from all different parts of the country, and there are 31 branches of the association represented here. So let's talk to a few of the people who are here today. I might just start with this family over here.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Do you mind if I just get your name?
Certainly, yeah. Kevin Bulger's my name, Sergeant Ngori. This is my son Killian. He's 8 years old. Daughter Jessica, who's 6 years old, and my wife Ruth. I'm not going to tell you her age.
That's alright, I wouldn't ask. And why was it important for you to have the whole family here today?
Well, you see, it's not just me that's affected by this whole thing. It's the children, and it's Ruth. I mean, Ruth might be able to explain to you more on the home front. She gave up work at the time when we were having children, on a budget that we had, and she can explain to you exactly the difficulties that she's had over the last 6 or 7 years.
Mm-hmm. And for yourself, I mean, how has it impacted on your enjoyment of your job, let's say, and your own morale in the job?
Well, as is well reported at this point, morale is very much on the floor within the organisation. There's no doubt about that. Personally, and me among many other members, had to travel long distances to go to work during recessionary cuts, during the whole lot. That's well reported. There's no point in going over old ground. But it's time now to put a framework in place to try and get people back to a standard of living that's appropriate to the job that they're doing.
And financially, can you give me a figure sort of week to week what the impact has been since 2008 for your family?
We've kind of had a look at it, and we're talking between maybe 150 to 180 euro every week since 2007. Probably started off lower, maybe about 80 to 100 initially, and then over the number of years during recessionary cuts and the FEMPI legislation, it's escalated. But we're talking about 180 quid a week,
that's
maybe.
Including USC and everything.
That's including everything.
All the recessionary measures.
Everything at all, yeah. The pension-related deduction, the whole lot, and it's impacting on what children can do and what people can do. Like, if you want medical appointments, stuff like that, it's all money out of the pocket that you just don't have. There is no spare money.
Yeah. And Ruth, do you mind if I just move to you for a minute? We'll just move over this side to you. Kevin was saying that you might be able to explain maybe some of the sacrifices that the family has had to make in the last few years.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm waiting 7 years now to get a root canal and a crown. It's just things like that. I mean, every spare money we had, it has to go towards things and schooling and medical costs. We don't get anything for free. We don't even get as you know, you don't get a dental clean now for free. But every bit of our savings was used to keep just 2 cars on the road a lot of the time. So it did affect us a lot of the time, yeah.
And the two of you have made sacrifices, obviously, so that the kids can keep having a good standard of living.
Yeah.
Do you feel that Kevin is appreciated in his job?
No, I don't.
In what way?
What he goes through every day. Sometimes when he's on nights, we don't know if he's going to come home. Sometimes he's got limited resources. He's got limited manpower. He's having a tough time.
Do you worry about his safety in his job?
Of course, every guard's wife does. Yeah. because I mean they're on staff through vests dealing with armed criminals. So yeah, of course we are.
Well, thanks a lot for talking to us. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks.
We're just going to talk to this gentleman to my right here. What's your name?
Cameron Tracy's my name.
And where are you based?
I'm branch secretary of the AGSI in Limerick.
Okay. What's your rank?
I'm a sergeant.
You're a sergeant. And can you tell me a bit about the financial impact that the cuts in the last few years have had on you and your own family?
Well, since 2008, we've received a 25% pay reduction. Like, essentially, that's whatever disposable income that your family would have, you know. Any prior loans or commitments or anything you'd have, it's virtually impossible to commit to them long term, and people have lost homes, lost cars, everything else. It's just next to impossible to keep everything going, you know. Especially if you have two families working, like, you know, and both parents or whatever are hit. Trying to pay stuff for college funds or school or anything like that is next to impossible. Like, you're living on borrowed money the whole time, you know.
What kind of sacrifices have you had to make in the last few years?
No more than everybody else, and especially the way the recession has affected everyone in the country. You know, your spending is cut back. Foreign holidays are a thing of the past, you know. I'd say I haven't been on a foreign holiday in the bones of 7 or 8 years, you know. Little things, you know, school trips, kind of even simple things like dentist appointments and stuff you have to put off, you know.
Yeah.
These are things that people are just having to do, you know.
And do you feel like the government, I mean, obviously we have a new government starting at the moment, but it's made up of a lot of the same old people that we had in before. Do you feel like they appreciate the job that you and your colleagues do every day?
Appreciate, I'm not sure. Understand even. Most of these people here that are walking, like, you know, go to work in a bulletproof vest every day, and a number of them carry guns, and the job itself is stressful, but like, there's an awful lot of stressful jobs in the country. There's very little engagement between government and our association or the GRA or any of the Garda associations at present, and to be honest, that's all we're seeking. We're seeking pay restoration, but if the government would be willing just to sit down and talk to us, like, you know, that's what we'd really love, you know.
So is that your message to the government then? You just want them to sit down and listen to you?
Yeah, just sit down and talk to us. Not, like, they don't have to, it can be a two-way conversation. It's just, we still need to have some negotiating rights, where at present we just don't, you know.
And how far would you be willing to go in this? I mean, there's talk, obviously you can't go on strike at the moment, but there are talks of maybe a blue flu or work stoppages. Would you be in favour of that if it's necessary?
Talk a strike or anything like that, I think it was very premature. I couldn't even dream of entertaining that myself.
You don't want to kick off a revolution or anything like that?
Well, we just want to talk, you know, and we just want to have meaningful negotiation with governments, which we're not having at the moment. And look, it'll be between our association and the national executive to discuss if there is going to be further marches or demonstrations or something like that. That's just something that'll have to play out in time, you know.
Thanks a lot for talking to us.
Everything was happening in the weekend. You have to do everything in the weekend.
So we're moving now through Merrion Square. We're on our way to the Dáil with the Garda sergeants and inspectors. Now, it's worth saying that I was just talking there to Cayman about not being able to go on strike. This association actually brought the government to court 2 years ago, the European Court, and won their case. They won the right to strike. They also won the right to negotiate. their own terms, their own paying conditions, which is not something that they've been able to do up until now because they're not an actual union. So in any of the public pay deals, they haven't actually been able to sit down at the table and put forward their own demands. They've essentially just been told what's been agreed, and you should accept it. They have rejected the latest public pay deal, the Lansdowne Road Agreement, like their rank and file colleagues. And they're also calling today for the government to implement legislation that would accept the terms of the European case that they won 2 years ago. That has yet to be done. Now, that's not to say that they would necessarily go on strike if they won the right to, but they feel like they should be entitled to if it comes to that. Like I said earlier, we're going to be interviewing Antoinette Cunningham, the president of the Association of Garda Sergeants and Inspectors, just when we get to the Dáil, which will probably be in a few minutes. So if you have any questions for her, you can leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to ask a few of them when we get there later on. So you might have seen some of the signs people are holding. They talk about the fact that they risk their lives doing their jobs. And what's your name?
Shane.
And where are you based? Are you sergeant or you're sergeant? Yeah. Why is it important to make those
It's going to be freezing increments from July onwards, affecting everyone, so that's why we're here today.
Do you feel that that's a kind of a pertinent point for you? I was talking about it just there, that you won that European case 2 years ago,
yeah,
but it hasn't been implemented. Do you feel like there's a lack of respect there?
Well, we just like it to be implemented, so that's where we're going with this.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, no problem.
arrived at the Department of the Taoiseach, and representatives here have handed over a letter to go to the Taoiseach demanding that their pay be restored to pre-recession levels. We're going to talk to Antoinette in just a few minutes and I can pull her away, but until then Nicky might just give you another couple of views of the crowd there. We're waiting around, it's not just for fun. We're just waiting for the association to hand over that letter that I was talking to you about, demanding that their pay be restored. For them, like some of them were saying, it's not really just about pay, it's about the right to be able to negotiate on their own behalf. In previous public pay deals, they've essentially been in a separate room and they've been told by someone else this is what the deal is and you can either have it or not. We also saw just in the last few days Pascal Donoghue, who is now the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform, saying that it was the Lansdowne Road Agreement or nothing, that there would be no new pay deals negotiated over the next 2 years, which will be a blow for associations like this. But they have said that this is just the first action that they'll be taking. The Central Executive Committee plans to protest here every week, actually, until they feel like they've been listened to or until the government sits down and negotiates with them. And they have said as well that they're willing to escalate this. Now, Antoinette Cunningham had said yesterday that she wasn't ruling out work stoppages, but that would be a very extreme measure and it's not likely that it would actually get to that point. That's not to say that they're not willing to do it and that they won't perhaps threaten to do it to try and push negotiations forward.
Where's our members and then we're going to head to them.
Colleagues, first and foremost, I wish to thank everybody for coming out here this morning. It's a big ask in the middle of the week for people who've been working last night and who are working tonight to actually come out. I'd like to thank our colleagues from the GRA who came out. I'd like to thank our colleagues from the Retired Members Association who are here in solidarity with us. I'd like to thank the branch secretaries, because without your help and effort there would not be as many people here as we have. I think it's important that we acknowledge your effort. What we propose to do in the next couple of minutes is to hand the letter in to a representative from the Taoiseach Minister for Justice. The Taoiseach tells us that she can't receive our letter herself because she's managing government business. Look, this is a very important day for us as an association and for Gardaí. It's disappointing that we had to march. I know it's not something that we wanted to do, but it's something, unfortunately, that the lack of engagement on government's part has forced us to do. This is the first step. This is the first step in a concerted campaign on our behalf to get government to engage with a view to restoring your pay. Something that they took office by stealth, something that they took office without engagement or without consultation on. And it's time now, in light of the government heralding a return or a move away from austerity times, that we would share in the recovery. The Gardaí, over the last number of years, have engaged in significant productivity changes. We've embraced change when it was introduced by Garda management, and it's time now we were recognised and rewarded for that. The public say we do a great job. I know you do a great job on the front line, and it's time the government rewarded you for doing that. So on behalf of the National Executive, I'd like to thank you all for coming here today, and I'm going to ask our President to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Guys, just like John said, I want to thank each and every one of you for turning out here today. In my hand is a letter that we intend to deliver to the Taoiseach and Minister for Justice. I think government need to sit up and take notice of the 650 people that have taken to the streets today in protest at Garda pay negotiations. I appreciate your support and your solidarity so much, those of our GRA colleagues, those of the retired people that are here today, and most of all you, the members of the Association of Garda Sergeants and your families. We will continue this long and sustained campaign as long as it takes to get meaningful negotiation around pay. Thank you very much, all of you.
Back a bit, guys.
Do you want to hold the letter out?
No,
Chris
is here,
coming
so
in.
you let him in there.
Chris in there. Sorry. Thanks. Chris, can I ask your name? Turn around and get the top of my building. Turn around, exactly, yeah. It's good there. Here, guys, the photograph. Really good there. Over there. Behind, hold it there, yeah. Everybody behind.
So we're just going to talk to the president of the association, Antoinette Cunningham, and John Jacob, who is the general secretary. Thanks for joining us. Are you guys happy with how it went today?
We are happy. We're overwhelmed by the amount of support that was shown to us by our own AGSI colleagues, by the guards that turned out here today, and by the retired members. And we hope that government sit up and take notice of the amount of people that were here today.
I mean, a lot of the people that we spoke to talked about sort of general hardship in their own lives. I mean, can you give me some examples that you've heard of hardship?
Sure, we hear of hardship every day of the week. We've taken in excess of 20% pay cuts since 2008. It's becoming unsustainable for some of our people to live on the wage that they have at the moment. Faced in with an increment freeze for the next 2 years under Lansdowne Road, our people are struggling.
John, I might ask you, I was talking to the people who are watching a little bit about comments made by Pascal Donoghue, who said that it was essentially Lansdowne Road or nothing. You can't have been too happy about that.
Look, the minister's just taken up office, and I suppose he's reading himself into his brief. But we recognise that under Haddington Road we had a review of Garda pay, and we can't understand why that review hasn't taken place. We'd like to sit down with the minister, and we've written to him inviting him to a meeting to outline why we think we should be considered differently to other public servants. I think if he was to sit down and engage with us, he'd understand why we should be dealt with as a unique body.
Why should you be dealt with differently?
Well, look around you. The people here serve the community on a daily basis. Every time they put on their uniform, they do so in the knowledge that they could be exposed to assault or intimidation. And it does happen on an ongoing and a daily basis.
Just one more question, because one more question, and then we'll let you run off to the photographers. You can correct me if I'm wrong now, but the salaries for the Garda sergeants and inspectors range from about 45,000 to 59,000. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, about 40 to about 55.
Yeah, but depending on the rank.
But what you have
years
to put
of
into
service.
perspective is that people don't get promoted until they have about 15 years service to the rank of sergeant. And at that stage they have a significant amount of experience. They bring a huge wealth of knowledge to the role. The role that they perform is expanding on a daily basis. I actually don't believe it's the money they're being paid, considering the responsibility they undertake on a daily basis. I know it might seem like an awful lot. They work night duty, they work weekends, they suffer in that they're not with their families and on events that they might like to be there for. And look at the role. The role extends to 7 or 8 pages of responsibility, and if they get it wrong, they're examined by the Garda Síochána inspector, the Garda Síochána ombudsman. They're examined under the discipline regulations. They can be examined in the courts for a decision that they make on a daily basis, and they can be prosecuted and sued individually. So I think that the money they're getting is small compensation for the job they do.
Okay, thanks a lot, John. We'll let you go.
Thanks very much.
We're making the photographers a bit antsy now because they're keen to get everybody into the photograph. So we'll leave it there. Now, Antoinette said there were around 650 people here. We had put it at the start of the march at about 200, so I think it's maybe less than the 650 that she was talking about. But there still was a good group, a significant crowd of people here to support the Garda sergeants and inspectors in their demands for pay restoration. And like I said earlier, this is just the first of many events to come as part of this campaign of theirs. Thanks again for tuning in.